Hi there, I'm Michelle Berry Franco. I want to tell you a story behind a story that I share in my book, Beyond Applause. It's Book Birth Week, so I'm sharing some of the details of the book. And this is really, this story is just kind of mentioned in a section of the book, but I want to tell you a little more detail about what was happening in this period in my life. And it's really the first step that I took into leadership through my own stories and expertise. So we're going to go back about 7 years. Now, this is even notable because if you have read or seen anything, you'll know that I've been actually a speaking coach and teacher for decades. I had been in the speaking world for a very long time. But this is really the first time that I realized that I had this call to step into leadership with a very specific message. But of course, it didn't start out that way in this story. It was in a time in my life when everything on the outside looked really good. I had a business. I had a pretty shiny exterior. My brand looked good. I had a nice website. I think people generally understood what I did, although I was always resisting being a speaking coach. That's for another story. But I had, seemingly happy marriage, healthy kids. I seemed like I was pretty happy on the outside, but the truth was I was a total wreck on the inside. And my husband and I were fighting every night. I was really struggling with how to be present with my kids during the day. I was so distracted that I caused a car accident. It was just a really intense internal time for me. And one particular day, I got very angry at my husband, not uncommon at the time, and just sort of like, we were out in front of the house. I'd pulled up in our minivan and was like giving him the evil eye because of something that had happened, and then screeched off and went for a drive into the country. And I parked my car, and I was really like I was coming up with scenarios where I would get my own apartment and he could stay in the house and I would have the girls certain days. I mean, I really had gotten to this point where I thought I needed to leave my marriage, leave my whole family situation, because really I felt like everything else was causing my angst. It must have been my husband. It must have been my family situation. It must have been my work. I was dreaming up all these different sort of, barista jobs I was going to get to live in my little simple life in my apartment. I mean, it's so, if me and my family and my marriage, it's a crazy idea, but it was what was going through my mind at the time. And as I sat there, sort of like in the midst of this, I remember having the thought, like, I want a new slate. I need a new canvas, And somehow that thought had me realize that this new slate, this new canvas, wasn't actually going to solve anything, because at this new apartment would be all of me, all the chaotic insides of me would just be moving myself right into that new apartment. And then in fact, when I really thought about it, even when I thought about what I just got so angry at my husband about right then, it was me. It was me. It wasn't what I was angry about him what I was angry about with him right then and many of the other nights, and all the chaos I was creating in our family and in my work was really me just sort of like avoiding, so afraid. I was just so afraid to step into this call that I always knew that I had created all of this chaos and blame to insulate me from having to just answer this call. I can't exactly explain why that clarity and realization came to me right then. Maybe it's because I really was doing this crazy thing of imagining leaving my family, which is something that is unimaginable to me now. But that was the beginning of me stepping in and really stepping away from all the excuses and the blame and the fear. Now, it turns out I would have quite a few more dark nights of the soul around fear, speaking fear, sharing my stories fear, fear of cracking this sort of shiny exterior. I had a lot of work to do from there, but that is really how it started, was releasing the blame. I had to see full on that I had this call, and this call was not going to go away, and that I was the solution to all of these other problems. And the truth was, I'm not saying it was perfect, but very quickly, a lot of those problems did fall away. My marriage got better quite quickly after that. I made some pretty dramatic changes in my behavior, in my life, in my habits after that day in that cul-de-sac in the country that set me on the path that I'm on now, where I can share this kind of a story with you. I couldn't have shared this kind of story then. It would be way too scary to me. But it was certainly a journey, and it started on that day. So there's a little snippet of my own longer story of transformation, because stories of transformation happen across time, of course. But I wanted to share that with you. And as you're reading Beyond Applause, you'll see that I mention in there this period of time when I was numbing out to avoid, because I was so fearful. Well, that's the backstory around it. All right, so thank you so much for your attention and for listening to one of my more vulnerable stories. I can't wait to share Beyond Applause with you. It's coming on February 1st. And if you order within those early days, we have some awesome prizes, including, for the first 30 people, this cool mug. Okay, that's enough of my infomercial about the book. I would love to hear your stories. I can't wait to see you out there making a difference in other people's lives the way I know you feel called to do. Okay, take care.